Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Connersville Speaks on TV3. You know, it seems like only yesterday that the basketball season for the high school teams was beginning, but now it's in its final stages. It's winding down as the girls' tournament is underway and the boys' tournament is about to begin. Tonight on Connersville Speaks, we welcome CHS Athletic Director Brent Duncan and basketball coaches Michael Thompson and Kerry Brown. Mike, you just completed your 8th season as coach of the Lady Spartans, winning 112 games, losing 73. Congratulations on a fine record.
Well, thank you very much. It's flown by, you know.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit this year, and it's kind of hard to believe that I've brought up a few times about the history of Lady Spartan basketball, but it's my 17th year overall being in the program, and we've been very fortunate to have a lot of very good players come through and a lot of solid teams, and I've really enjoyed it.
This season you won, I believe, 16 games and lost 9. 3 of those 16 were in the sectional. You brought home a championship. Lost number 9, that was a tough one. It was to Mooresville in the regional last Saturday in the Class 4A. Tell us about your season, sectional, regional.
I think first of all, I thought we had a good season. It was kind of up and down. In the newspaper and interviews, whatever, I've talked a lot about, we went through a lot of injuries and sickness in the month of December. It started at the very beginning of December. We lost Courtney Phillips to a knee injury.
Yes. That
was a starter. And so right after that, we started going through a lot of sickness. And so we never truly had a full team together until we got to the Rumble on the River and into January. And so now we basically had 4 or 5 weeks to see what kind of team we were going to be at that point in time. In the end, we played a lot of younger players in that stretch in December, and we kept saying that it's going to make us better. And I think once we got to the sectional, it did help us out. And I thought the girls played extremely well for 3 games. I think we got hot at the right time. Defensively, they did an outstanding job. I think a total in those 3 games, we held those 3 opponents to like 66 points below their scoring average. And we played well enough on offense to get the job done. And it was our first sectional, I think, in 6 years. So very proud of the girls' efforts and their focus during that point in time. And I thought they played very well and got to the regional. Hopefully that experience will pay off down the future and the girls want to get back there. But I think Mooresville just played extremely well that day. We didn't shoot the ball well. I think we were a little timid to a point in that atmosphere, and first quarter we were fine, down 11-8, and I think at that point in time Mooresville just got really hot in the second quarter and we dug ourselves a hole we couldn't get out of.
What teams did you beat in the sectional?
First of all, it was Pendleton Heights by 1 or 2. By 1, and then we played Richmond and beat them on Friday night, and then Anderson. That was a very solid win for us. Anderson was 17-4, something like that, and had beat us by 17 points earlier, just a few weeks prior to that.
Kerry, the Spartans finished the regular season winning 11 and losing 11. This month we played 6 games, winning 5, complete turnaround from the month before. Tell us about your season.
Well, I guess probably we're a little disappointed. We thought we might have a little better record this year. Like Michael, we fought some injuries and some sickness.
Yes.
We had a very tough January stretch. I think at one point in time our one-lost opponent's record was 6th in the state, and I think I've talked with you or Sam on the radio about that. And just a really tough January schedule. We did not win a game during January, so I was concerned about how maybe the troops, the kids, would respond here in February, and been just very proud of how we finished the season, winning 5 out of our last 6 basketball games. Like Michael mentioned, getting hot at the right time as we head into the tournament, playing our best basketball. We're healthy. We've got everyone back until tonight, and then I think it's just a little, I don't know if it's a cold or I hope it's not the flu again, but our last 2 games we've had everybody back finally, and it's, we've been playing since Christmas break, and our last game, our last 2 games actually, was the first time here the second half of the season that we had the team we thought we'd have, and we're happy that we have everybody back, but everybody had to relearn their roles, or we had to find out what role we wanted to put them in and get them some playing time. And we've been doing it in a catch-up mode here at the very end. But I think overall the kids have done a great job of adjusting and developing some depth in our bench and playing some kids that maybe wouldn't have got an opportunity had we not had those injuries.
In January, you were on the road all but one game, isn't that right?
Yeah, and that might play a little bit of it, but still, you know, the court's the same length, the rims are the same height. I think there is a little bit of difference in playing at home and playing on the road, but I think it had as much to do with who we were playing. Greensburg was ranked number 1 in 3A when we played them. Mount Vernon was ranked number 1 in 3A when we played them. Jay County's a top 10 4A team. Newcastle, Muncie Central. Someone's escaping me right now. We finished up the Wedig tournament with Portage, who was a big school from up north, and probably should have won that game. And I thought there was a couple other games that got away from us that we should have won as well this year.
Your next game is Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. You have the honor of opening the Newcastle sectional, meeting Pendleton Heights, a team that you played during the regular season. Weren't too successful. What are you expecting this time? Well,
they're the two-time defending champion. I think, like us, they're better than they were earlier in the year. We played them earlier in, I guess we were still in December.
December 8th is when you played them.
But that was an 8-point game in the fourth quarter, if I remember, and ended up with free throws and us chasing them being an 18-point game. So, you know, I've watched 3 other tapes on them, and I just got that tape out again today to watch it. And we'll just have to do a better job of executing. I think probably turnovers were something that we struggled with in that game. And we're a different team. We start 2 different players than we did back then.
Yes.
And they start maybe 1 different player than they did back then. So they're a little bit different. But they had an unknown in that game, the McDermott kid, who I know had at least 5, if not 6 3-pointers, had just gained his eligibility. He had moved in there from Lapel, and so we weren't sure about him, who he was. And obviously we know who he is as well as the rest of their team.
Pendleton Heights is the team that eliminated the Spartans a year ago. You won your first game in the section over Greenfield Central, and then met Pendleton Heights, and they won. So it's time for a turnaround.
Yeah, and actually I think they may have eliminated those last 2 years.
Okay.
But they well, and I mentioned they're the sectional champions the last 2 years. So
yes.
They've had a very fine program, a very fine player. They have an outstanding coach. You know, the Dunham boy was there last year, and obviously the years before that, and he's playing at Butler now on the national level and doing really good things there. So we didn't quite get it done the last 2 years against them. We look forward to the opportunity this year, and we think we'll have a really good shot going in, and our kids are playing hard, and we think we'll have a good game plan for Pendleton.
You have a practice session coming up, don't you, at Newcastle?
Well, we don't get to go this year because if you play at the site, the host site, you do not get to practice up there. It's a change. I don't know how long that the IHSA has implemented that rule. It used to be you got to go practice even if you played during the regular season, and sometime I don't know when they've changed that, and you're not allowed to travel and practice if you've already played there. So we'll practice tomorrow after school. We'll practice Saturday here, and then on Monday we'll have our final practice getting ready for Tuesday's game.
Well, the good thing is that the Newcastle Bowl is similar to the Spartans, a bit bigger, but it's the same gym.
Yeah, there's similarities. They're both bowls. We played there during the season. Pendleton played there during the season, so they're not going to have the opportunity to practice there for the tournament either. So I think it's fair and it's equal, and it is what it is. Whether we played there or didn't get to play there this year, we just have to go in there and control the things that we can control.
It's really good in your games during February. The team has really looked sharp, I think.
Well, thank you. And we've told our kids that we're proud of them, the way they've handled the tough month of January, because I think it would have been easy for them to have not responded and given up.
Certainly.
And to win 5 out of our last 6. And again, some of them on difficult situations. Our last 2 down at Franklin County on the road, down 5 at halftime to win by 13. And then to go on the road and play at Greenfield on senior night up there and win by 24 on the road. I think we've had some really good performances. Once again, one of those losses here late, we would like to have had that game back, and we don't think we played our best, but sometimes that happens on a given night.
Sure. Brent, tickets available for the sectional at your place?
Tickets are available in the athletic office from 7:30 to 4 up through Monday for sure, and probably until about noon to 1 on Tuesday, so that we can get all the final paperwork that I can take back to Newcastle on Tuesday night.
What's the charge?
We sell only the season passes, which is $10 for all 3 nights.
Okay. You're in your first year as athletic director at CHS. Been quite a year.
Been a good year. No complaints. In the wintertime, we're 3 sectionals for 3 sectionals right now, so get 3 more to come, it'd be all right.
And you've had a lot of youngsters that have picked up awards, and titles.
Sure, I was just sitting at home thinking earlier before I came in, our girls swim team wins the sectional title, and we win 7 individual first places at that meet. Paxton and Reese Drew both win 2 individual events, and then we win all 3 of the relays with, I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but Bailey Weiler and Bailey Miller and Kerrigan Baker and Tate Adams and Morgan Geis and Hetty Dalrymple, and of course the 2 Drew girls. And just this past Thursday, the boys 200 free relay won the sectional in their place, and Andrew Burnzot and Alan Volts and Willie O'Neill and Daniel Beckner are going to swim tomorrow night at the state meet in the 200 free. And of course, I don't know what you say about wrestling. 27-1 during the regular season, sent 9 to the semi-state, and of course Tom Gettinger gets 4th place in the state meet. And I figured up the record of the 2 guys he lost to. They're 79-7. 2 of those 7 losses, Tom had given them 2 of them, so they're 79-5 against the rest of the state. So he lost to some quality wrestlers. In fact, the guy that won ended up being 38-0 or 39-0 on the season, and couldn't ask for a better start for the winter sports, and it's really been a good sports year all around. And
the wrestling coach did pretty well.
Yeah, Coach Bowling was named the Indiana State High School Wrestling Coach of the Year. Great honor to have.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the banquet Sunday. They said it was a really nice honor to go up there, and I had to celebrate my daughter's birthday, so she kind of won out over going to the banquet. So I guess that happens at times.
In the fall sports, pretty successful. Football team did well. Cross country, the soccer teams did well.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to come in the position I'm in, and you've got some quality teams that are in place. It makes it look pretty easy. It's just seeing the kids do well, and when the fall gets off to a great start, the school year gets off to a better start, and it's just kind of carried over through winter, and anticipating a great spring getting ready to start. Track's already training. They got an indoor track meet a week from Saturday down at East Central.
Okay.
And softball and
baseball.
Everybody kicks off about March the 4th, March the 11th.
That early, I was wondering just when.
Practices, and so they've been in there all their preseason workouts, and the gym's full of people, and the hallways are full of people. You got 80 track runners in the hallway because it's cold outside, and it's a little noisy in the hall after school up there.
The weather's been in your favor too. You haven't had one cancellation, haven't had to do any rescheduling. That must be a relief.
It has been after last year. When the winter was so nice last year, you worry about the year after that there might be a lot of changes. And now, knock on wood, that spring.
I can remember seasons when, it was just one cancellation after the other and try to make up.
Yeah, and then eventually it just gets so tight, and you lose games because you can't find an open time, or they've got games and we've kind of been in a bad situation not being in the conference. If their conference games got canceled in the past, they're always going to take precedence over us rescheduling, so we kind of got shifted out, and we've lost a few that way. So knock on wood, spring will be the same. We don't have to do any rescheduling. If we can get through a spring without rescheduling any game, that'll be a miracle, but we'd take it.
Well, we hope not. You mentioned the conference. Tell us about the Eastern Indiana Athletic Conference. The Spartans are joining it, beginning with football, and it's a conference that has 6 members right now. They're adding the Spartans in Rushville to make it an 8.
That is correct.
And that replaces the Olympic that the Spartans were a member of, that dissolved because they lost a couple of schools, or at least one school.
Well, when I first got here, we were still in the South Central, and then we moved into Olympic, and I can't name all the teams that were in there, but Carmel and Noblesville, and of course you had Anderson Highland and Anderson Madison Heights, and of course Madison Heights folded.
Yes.
Carmel and Noblesville decided they wanted to go elsewhere. We added some Lafayette schools, which made the drive too long.
Sure.
Huntington North split out, went to the North Central, and of course Highland folded and became Anderson. So you're down to 3 schools, us and Jay County and Muncie South, and I don't know if you really can call that a conference. So just by mutual agreement, we just decided to absolve it and just leave it like it is. And we're excited about going to EIAC. I know there'd been talk about some other conferences, which is great, but got some natural rivalries here in this conference, and we play most of them on our schedule, and it's kind of nice to have Rushville back in your conference.
Yes,
you're 12 miles, 15 miles down the road, and that's kind of one of your big rivalries.
Franklin County's close by.
Yeah, and it's a lot more, the proximity's right here. So we're hoping bigger crowds, bigger gates, which is good for me and good for the fans and good for the kids. And just to have your kids be able to compete for a conference title or an individual title, something that the seniors got to experience as a freshman. And unfortunately, our freshmen that will be seniors next year will only get one opportunity to that. So maybe they'll take that as a little motivation to try to win some of those conference titles, since they've not had an opportunity at gaining any of those. So
it's mentioned, but two and a half, 3 years ago that we were joining the conference, people wondered why it took so long until it finally went into effect. Explain that.
Well, it's if you've never sit on the side of the desk that I sit on, and I would have said the same thing sitting over here where these two are at, get schedules to change.
Yes.
Football is the big one because you have limited number of weeks and the amount of schools you have to play, but you're all contracted unless you can mutually get out of contracts with other schools. Then of course there can be a fee involved, and so it's just a matter of getting everything and the logistics worked out, more so for football than anything. And we kind of tried to push them to get into some of the, maybe the cross-country meets and the track meets where it's a little easier, golf meets, just to stick another team in there. But they stood fast, stuck to their guns, and we just met last week again talking about all conference and, you know, the banners you're going to hang and if there's going to be a logo, all the little things that go into making a good conference. And we'll meet again in April, and hopefully everything is in line, and tweaking the schedules to make sure we have all 7 schools on all of our events that we need to have them in. But I'm excited, and I know that some of the kids are excited, and I'm sure the coaches have to be excited to be able to say at the season, end of the season, and maybe you're struggling a little bit, you still got that conference title that you can play for.
Yes.
You know, and as a scheduler, you'd like to schedule our sectional opponents early in the season and put your conference games late in the season, so the late games mean something, but you're still practicing against your sectional teams for the tournament time. So those are the challenges that you have when you're trying to develop a schedule for everybody.
I believe I heard where the conference does not have all sports. Is that right? Or are there some that the conference does not have at this point?
They have everything but gymnastics.
Oh, okay.
Us and Rushville are the only 2 that actually field a gymnastics squad. So in their conference, that's not recognized as a conference sport. Not every school has a swimming team, I don't think, either. So
I see.
Majority of them do. I'm not sure Franklin County has a swim team, and I know some of them have swim teams that are just kind of small, so just kind of, but the only sport they truly don't have is high school gymnastics.
Okay. You mentioned some of the other schools, the 6 that are the original members of this conference are Batesville, East Central, Franklin County, Greensburg, Lawrenceburg, and South Dearborn. As you say, we played some of those teams in a non-conference game, so it was a problem, though. I suppose getting them all on the schedule, because these 6 teams played each team twice, but that's not going to happen, is it? In the new conference lineup? In
basketball and soccer, boys and girls basketball as well as boys and girls soccer, we will only play each of those teams one time.
Okay.
In baseball, softball, and volleyball, since those teams are allowed to have more games during the regular season, we are going to play each of them twice, whether we play a doubleheader at our place this year against Franklin County, that's our 2 games, and next year we play a doubleheader down there. But you have to play each of those teams twice in softball, baseball, and volleyball starting next year.
According to their records this year, it seemed like Lawrenceburg and Greensburg were the 2 top teams in basketball.
Well, you know, Greensburg's pretty solid. Batesville's still solid.
Yes.
You know, we haven't played Lawrenceburg for a while. I think we played them when I first got here in 1989-90. I think they were on our schedule because I remember playing a kid named Kelsey Mucker, and was a really solid athlete down there. But those and Batesville a little bit on most of our schedules that we've had to put on. The rest of them have pretty much play us in about every sport we have for the most part. So it wasn't too hard getting them on the schedule. It's just now it's the logistics of putting them where you, it was just to get them on the first of all. Now it's to try to get them where you want them. So.
Okay, in addition to doing scheduling of games, what else does the athletic director do?
That depends on what phone calls come in that day.
Okay.
So, but it's from hiring officials, different booster clubs that you handle, finances, meeting with the administrative team at the high school, Sometimes lunch supervision if you need to be lunch supervision, or after school bus duty, setting up games, keeping people in line, checking grades.
You do about everything but sweep the floor, I think.
Sometimes I have to sweep the floor. But, you know, that's just part of it. If you enjoy sports and you enjoy your job, it's just part of it, and you just take care of what needs to get done. And I always joke, and if I see 2 teams and all the correct officials and all my bench personnel, everything else is easy. It's just a matter of what happens that you got to adjust on the fly. So.
And in the fall and spring, you're responsible for the fields, getting them ready, aren't you?
I have an athletic custodian, Brian Edgecombe, and Brian does a great job. He takes care of setting up the fields, mowing the grass, anything else you ask him to do, he pretty much does. He's probably at the bowl right now, if not down cleaning at the locker room at the football, getting ready for track. I couldn't ask for somebody better. He never questions. He just asks what else he can do, if there's anything I need done for the day, and it's done. I don't have to worry about whether Brian's going to have the basketball court set up or not. It'll be there.
Yeah, that's great. Kerry and Michael, Michael especially, since your season has concluded, I know you're looking forward to when the new season begins. You have tryouts. What's the procedure for getting your team lined up? How does that happen? Are they youngsters invited to come out and play basketball for you?
Well, at this point in time, I'll give everybody off until after spring break.
Okay.
And then once after we get after spring break, I normally go 2 days a week of open gym. And at that point in time, that's open to any student that's interested in playing basketball. They don't have to have already been on our team this past season.
Okay.
And even in the spring, I'll start inviting especially 8th graders in. And if we have room, then I'll invite 7th graders in as well. And then we'll have open gym all the way through to the end of school. And then in June, we go pretty heavy at that point, a couple times in the morning. Normally 3 times in the morning, and then whatever games that we go play. In the past, I think last summer we went to Ball State and played 1 day. We went to Northern Kentucky and played a day. Went to Richmond a couple nights and played. And then we took a team camp last year to Morehead State University down in Kentucky and for the whole weekend. Then I give them July and August off, and then we start back up in the fall.
Okay.
And again, that's open to anybody. Once we get to our tryouts, which is normally about the end of October, then that's again open to anybody who wants to come and try out. And we give them at least 3 days to try out, and we'll make first cuts if needed. And then we'll go through Saturday, so we'll give them 6 days, and then that'll be our last cuts if we need to cut anybody or decide where we're going to put people on what team at that point.
Kerry, is your system much the same?
Very similar. We try to provide opportunities for them in the fall or in the spring after our season's over with. Give them some time off, like Michael says, and then if they're not in a spring sport, if they decided not to participate in a spring sport, we want to get them in there doing something. We'll follow the same summer schedule as him, very heavy June, but then all I ask them to do in July is just lift. They don't have to touch a basketball. We're just trying to provide opportunities. Same thing when the fall rolls around. We will give them July off from basketball and all of August, and then we'll get back in there in September. And if you're not in a fall sport by then we'll start providing opportunities again for the kids to get into the gym and work on their game. We start 2 weeks after him, same thing, tryouts, and then toss it up, and it seems like it was just yesterday.
Yes. What are you looking for? What are you guys looking for in players? What kind of an attitude do you want them to come in with?
Well, I think obviously you want kids that are skilled and talented. Right now we're doing some extra stuff with our middle school kids. We had an elementary league this winter, and we're doing some stuff with our middle school kids now. Sometimes you're still teaching, especially with the young kids, the 7th and 8th graders, trying to build on what they already know. With the high school kids, it's a little difficult because of the rules that handicap you sometimes. Sometimes you just come in and lift and play an open gym. You can work with 2 kids at a time. So those kids that need some specialization, still some coaching, some teaching, we're working with them on the side. The other kids then, you might let play 5-on-5. I want them to compete. I want them to be hard-nosed. I want them to be knowledgeable and skilled. And if they don't have any of those things, then we're trying to, obviously help them with it.
And you want them to be coachable?
Obviously, yeah. A great attitude goes a long way.
Yes.
And probably the 2 things, friend, that we preach and hopefully expect out of our kids is that they are hard workers, they're competitors. I think it's kind of the same thing, and that they're coachable or have a great attitude. And I think those are one and the same.
Michael, you look for some of the same attributes?
I think absolutely everything that Kerry just said, and I think a big one for me too is just people that are going to work hard. And we tell the girls all the time that practice isn't fun every day, conditioning's not fun, but you love to compete or you wouldn't be here. But the fun is at the end. That's where you want every girl to be able to experience that, cutting down the net in a sectional. Those 3 outgoing seniors, that's what you worked for 4 years, plus middle school and elementary. Now this is fun. And it takes a lot of hard work. And you do need skill, but hard work can get you through a lot as well. And every team has players that maybe it's not as skilled as others, but if I outwork you, and if I'm a student of the game, I can still beat you. And that's not always fun every day doing that, but there's payoff and reward in the end.
You have to be dedicated, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And we see it's a big shock. Kids coming from middle school to the high school program, longer period of time of practice, much longer season, and now it's work. It's still fun. You hope it's fun for them, and basketball should be fun and just competing, but it's hard work every day. And it takes an adjustment period for those young kids to get through that, and some of them don't make it.
Yes.
Because it's too much work, and so that's where you start to see some drop off at that point in time. And that's why I tell the seniors the last few years I have a lot of respect for those kids that stick it out. Winning and losing takes care of itself, but you worked hard and you stuck it out and you were dedicated. So that's something to be proud of.
You mentioned seniors. You're losing 3 through graduation this year. Tell us about them.
Well, we're going to lose a lot. Number one, start off with Tiara Huntsman.
Yes. Great.
This past Saturday, she actually passed Mandy McDivitt as our number 2 all-time scorer in Lady Spartan history. She's number 2 behind April McDivitt. She was 11 points behind to start the game on Saturday. Signed with Gardner-Webb, Division I player, leading rebounder, gets all the attention on offense, a tremendous defensive player, very athletic. So, right there we're losing a ton. Kenzie Weston had a very good senior year for us this year, shot the ball well for us from the 3, long and athletic, really came into her own this season. And then Ashley Wiley on the inside, maybe didn't always score a lot for us, but provided a lot for us. I think leadership. And defensively, I really think she came into her own right at sectional time. I think she was key there at the very end in her physical play in the middle, and Ashley always wasn't real physical. And I think that was a big key for us winning right there. So, I'm going to miss those 3. They have done a lot for the program. Wish them all the best, and we're going to have a lot to replace. We'll have a lot of work to do.
You have some fine players coming up, though. What we saw this year from your underclassmen.
Yeah, we do, and I think Taylor Stevens stands out in a lot of people's minds. She's an incredible ball handler, a great student of the game, puts a lot of hard work into it, and you can compete when you have ball handlers. If you're not turning the ball over a lot, I think it's going to take us a little while next year to find out who's going to pick up the scoring for us. But as long as you can handle the ball, you're going to have a chance. And we'll get Courtney Phillips back next year from her knee injury. She'll be able to score for us, and she's just a great athlete. And Isla Stewart played quite a bit for us this year. Morgan McQuarrie stepped up and was starting for us, had some really good games for us. Michaela Gaines, those last three will be seniors next year. And then, I think Lindsay Hackelman, Amanda Cobb got some playing time for us this year on the varsity level. And so, I'm excited for next year already. It's only been a short, not even a week yet, but we've already met and turned our things in, and we already started discussing. It's going to be an important summer. We're going to have to replace a lot, and we need everyone in here and getting better.
Kerry, you lose 5 boys through graduation. Tell us about them.
Well, we'll have some big holes to fill as well. We'll start out with Sean Davis. Sean's going to end up being a 4-year letterman for us, and that's not heard of very much. him and Charles are 1 and 2 in scoring for us this year. Both of them handled the basketball for us. Charles Peterson is the other guard I'm talking about, senior, and you know, Charles always then guards the other players, other team's best offensive player, and he welcomes that challenge. Sean's our best three-point shooter. Charles leads us in assists, so they've just done a really good job, a 1-2 combination in the backcourt for us. And you know, our guard play, I think, has been solid and has gotten better as this season has gone on. We've improved and become a better team, and I think it's because of our guard play has improved. So we'll miss those guys, and there's a lot of intangibles that you know, you don't mention when you're talking about Charles and Sean. Dakota Carlin, 6'2" post player. I've told everyone if he was 2 inches taller, you know, I think he'd really thrive at the next level as it is. Probably won't play at the next level. And I think Charles and Sean still have aspirations of playing at the next level, and I think they can. They just have to find the right fit, and we'll continue working and trying to assist them in reaching that goal and those dreams. But Dakota's been our leading rebounder, second leading rebounder on the year. One of our toughest players, I think. When he's not playing, when he was hurt, I think we lost a certain amount of toughness as a team, and I think, you know, our kids knew that he was the guy that brung it, so to speak, the toughness factor. Tyler Parsley, very unselfish senior player, probably our most unselfish senior player. I always look at those kids that are willing to sacrifice their body like Tyler does, and I think, I know he leads us in charges, and I know he leads us in charges taken that the officials haven't called, and most of those probably should have been charges. I just think kids like Tyler that give their body up for the team, I'm so happy and proud for them, and he's been a good leader for us as well. Him and Charles Peterson and Blake Zimmerman have been our captains this year, and then that gets me to our last senior, Blake Zimmerman. Blake's kind of our designated spot-up three-point shooter. The thing I like about Blake is I think he's finished the season strong for us, doing some things that, you know, we've asked him to do and that we've been on him to do. He crashed the boards the other night at Greenfield, gets an offensive rebound, goes up and gets an and one. The game before that down in Franklin County, you know, we've been on Blake. We know he can shoot the ball, but we wanted him to do some other things, and he gets 2 steals, deflections, knocks the ball away. And to me, that says he's coachable, and he's still trying to get better, and he's taking those suggestions that he gets from the coaching staff, and it's just not going in one ear and out the other, and that's that attitude thing. So this will be tough for me because all of those guys have been with me since their freshman year, but really their sophomore year. They've all had an opportunity to play varsity basketball since they were sophomores. Now, it didn't work out. You know, Tyler didn't, but I gave him a shot because I liked some things I saw him, Tyler Parsley, but then he's played varsity the last 2 years the same way with the rest of them. But really, we started looking at those kids as sophomores. Blake Zimmerman played some varsity basketball as a sophomore. Sean for 4 years, and Charles was just in a kind of a number situation where he was behind Zach Miller and Matt Gardner and Sean Davis and whoever else there was in those positions. So we're going to have some big holes to fill, but like Michael, we've got some young kids that have been in the program and I think compete really well, and I'll be interested in see then how next year plays out. We'll have to have a great summer, but maybe we'll surprise some people even though we've lost so much.
You want to see these guys playing during the summer at Roberts Park and Industrial Park at the basketball goals? Is this something you'd like to see?
You know, that's fine. I drive by there and I always look, and sometimes I'll drive over there and sit, park, and watch them play. I think that's great. You know, we do the things that we do in the mornings. We go in and work out 6 o'clock in the morning, lift weights, play basketball, work, you know, a lot of skill stuff. And then I think them hanging around together away from when I make them being there, and it's voluntary in the summer, but you know, I guess they know that they're supposed to be in there. I think that's great that they're getting together on their own and still playing basketball. I think that's a tremendous asset to our team when they get together and they're doing it, not the coach having them get together.
I'd like to add to that. I like that because I might be wrong, but I think his group of kids right now, his seniors, have been doing that and going to the park and playing together, where I haven't seen that in years past. I think this is the first group in a while that they really like to play basketball. You know, and I remember, you know, years ago the park would always be full, and you know, the high school players would be there, and you didn't see it for a long time, but that tells me those kids really like to play.
It's good attitude. That's what we're after. Brent, March 9th will be a big day in Connersville. You're hosting Class 2A Regional. What's this all about?
Well, it's a nice place to watch a basketball game. We started probably 5 or 6 years ago, if I can remember correctly, and the first year was a great hit, and all the coaches loved coming to the bowl, and it's kind of stayed here. I always worry when we win our sectional with the boys, who's going to run the 2A Regional, because I'm going to go to ours, but we'll figure it out. But we got the winners of the Hagerstown sectional, the South Putnam sectional, Speedway sectional, and the Indianapolis, Washington sectional, I think it is. Those are the 4 teams that feed in, and they start playing at 10 in the morning and then at noon, and the champions come back at 8 o'clock at night. And I tell you, it's been a great atmosphere. The last times we've done it, the fans have been great. The teams have been wonderful to work with, and there's been some nice ball games in there. Some quality players that you don't always get a chance to see.
I was going to say, the last couple of years at least, Park Tudor came to town with a young guy called Yogi Farrell, who seems to be doing something around Bloomington, Indiana right now. Seems
to be a nice little addition to that team, somebody that can handle the ball and dish it out as well as shoot the ball fairly well. And he's thrived a little better than I thought he might because of his size, but he is a quality player, and I'm not so sure they're not better this year. So I'd say they're odds-on favorite to come back from that sectional, and I can't name the kids on their team, but I know they had a couple young kids that were really solid last year. So I'm sure it's going to be another great day on March the 9th. So if you got nothing else to do, and we're unfortunately not playing in the regional ourselves,
that's not our class, right?
No, it is 2A.
In our class, so
it is 2A class.
Right. I don't know if you guys went to IU or not, but I think everybody in Indiana, except the Purdue fans, are rooting for IU, the Hoosiers. What do you think?
Well, I would say, yeah, besides Ball State, they would be my next favorite team in the state. So it's fun to watch them. It brings the thrill back to the state.
Yes.
And it's just after all the turmoil and the troubles they've gone through in the past, it's just good to see their name back up in good things. And
yeah, the glory days are back, it seems, and they played some excellent games. Kerry and Michael, you guys get a chance to watch IU some?
Very little. Watching our own film more than any. But I'm happy for the Hoosiers. They're fun to watch again, and just like Brent said, the troubles they've been through and the down years that they had there, they're just exciting to watch, and it's good to just see the excitement from the fans.
Kerry, have they changed their style much since the days of Bobby Knight? What do you think?
Oh, I think a little bit probably. I grew up an Indiana Hoosier fan and a Louisville Cardinal fan, so I was 2 different extremes, run and jump and press and run up down the floor and dunk, and I use motion game and half-court defense. So I think they've changed. The kids, the game's changed a little bit. Like Michael mentioned, though, I don't get much of a chance to watch anymore between our games and scouting and watching tape on our opponents. I just don't get much of a chance to watch the college game, and then when I do get a minute, I turn the VCR DVD off, and there's a game on. It's there's something to do with your family, or we've run a Sunday program all summer with our elementary kids on Sundays, and then we're doing stuff with our middle school kids right now. So we're just trying to take care of our own, and that stuff just isn't quite as important when you're doing stuff with your own kids and families.
If any of yours have a question or comment for any of our guests, you feel free to call. The numbers are on the screen. Brent, talk about the academic part of this. You have a thing called Partners in Excellence, I believe. What is that all about?
I'm not sure I've actually heard that one.
For the youngsters.
I know the elementary schools have partnered up with businesses in the past.
The 3.5 average, I believe they become some scholastic.
Yeah, we give out some academic awards every fall if you can maintain a 3.5 GPA during your season the year before. Then we recognize you at our fall awards banquet, and you get a little patch to go on your jacket. And then, of course, we give one out called Scholar Athletes, and those were the kids who maintain a 4.0 or higher. And if I can remember the count right, at the first semester we had 193 athletes that had a 3.5 GPA or higher. Which is outstanding. The number of hours they put in at practice, and then they still get their studies, and they're truly there to be students first, and you want them to be involved in athletics. And if your kids aren't, and you want them to try to work on their grades, there's no better way to have kids in my opinion, take things more serious. They got to be a little more disciplined. The coaches help with that. If they don't make their grades, we make them go to a study table at 7:30 in the morning for an hour, 4 days a week to get extra help. And sometimes that's just a deterrent to keep them from wanting to not do as well in classrooms. And I've been here since 1989, and we've just had some outstanding students. I can't say enough about our kids. They work hard in the classroom, and those kids will carry that over onto the court and to the field. If you're usually a pretty good student, you're probably a pretty good athlete, at least because you can listen and you can learn and you'll try, and that goes so far in life. You know, we haven't put out many pro basketball players and pro football players. We've put out a lot of great students and good people in the community over the past years.
So many of the youngsters, majority of the youngsters are on the honor roll, I notice, every time they're published.
Yeah, in fact, I just checked grades yesterday, and if our students are under a 2.0, then they have to go to school, like I said earlier, Monday through Thursday at 7:30 in the morning for an hour. And if they don't get that up, if they don't raise their grade, they become academically ineligible for the next 6 weeks. Knock on wood, we don't have that happen very often, if ever. Occasionally you'll get one or two, but last 6 weeks I had one student on study table, so that means everybody had at least a 2.0 or higher GPA, and most of them are well over 3, so it's just a handful. And you know, that's what they're there for. And
that's right.
I talked to a young person yesterday that, you know, the goal is your academics first and everything else goes after that. But if you can't do your academics, you don't get to do the other things that you really enjoy to do. So
you even have some students that are tri-sport athletes. How does that happen?
Well, you know, it's a lot of cooperation amongst coaches for the most part, but we give out a tri-sport patch if you compete in a fall sport, which we have 8 of them to offer, and then you move from a fall sport and compete in one of our 6 winter sports, and then we offer 6 in the spring. So if they compete on a different team through all 3 different seasons, then the next fall we can recognize them at our fall awards and give them a tri-sport athlete patch, and nice little thing for your jacket to put on, which seems to be what kids are looking for.
Do you have an award program that following winter, or when?
Yeah, March the 13th. We were just looking at that today. It's creeping up around the corner. We'll all get together, and the coaches and the kids will vote on the most valuable players and the mental attitudes of each individual teams, and then they breakout session after our big meeting that we give that out in the Robert E. Wise Center. They'll break up into little sessions and hand out who gets a letter and who gets the freshman award and who's getting the JV award, and if they have any individual awards of their own. I know Carrie and Michael each have their own banquet, so they don't actually give them out that night on the 13th. They'll give them out at their own banquet they have where they feed dinner, and they've both done a good job with those programs that I've been able to attend the last 5 or 6 years. So,
talk about the Athletic Booster Club. This is something that people can become a member of, and it's very inexpensive.
Sure, we have different levels of membership. You can join as a family or a single or a business or a corporate, and we're thinking about adding a couple tiers at the top. But a lot of the funding in the athletics is run off of our sponsorships and our Booster Club members, and of course our gate tickets and our all sports tickets that we sell. And if anybody wants to become a member of the Booster Club, feel free to call us at the athletic office at any time, and we'll give you all the particulars. And soon here in the spring I'll be sending out a flyer, and I'm even thinking about taking an ad out in the paper. I'm not sure it's ever been done, but we may be missing somebody that just wants to be a part of it and donate and see our kids be successful. You know, I just ordered baseballs today, and I was shocked at the amount that 10 dozen baseballs cost. You know, and it takes about 30 dozen baseballs each spring to run one baseball season. You figure about 8 balls per varsity game. You got 25 games being played on the varsity field over the year, and you know, they got the little woods to the right. Unfortunately, a lot of those foul balls find their ways to that woods, and the brush gets a little thick down there. But so we use the money that the Booster Club and our gate tickets and our all sports tickets, you know, help us pay for our equipment and get them in uniforms and get them the things they need to eat so that they can be successful on the court. If you don't have the equipment and the stuff to run your programs aren't going to be very good. So we're always looking at ways to create money and find ways to make more, and we're happy to take any donation. Anybody wants to be in the Booster Club that wants to be there.
What about spring sports? What's the outlook for softball, baseball, and any of the spring sports?
Well, I think they're all up and coming right now. I know we were pretty young in softball last year, and Baseball's looking for a few pitchers, I think, right now. Just listening to Coach Sargent talk, and of course, you know, track's been pretty solid for. I know there's 100 kids in that hallway right now. You can't even hardly walk in the hallway out in front of the athletic office after school. I'll be glad when it gets warm outside so they can go to the track. But boys golf has been tremendous the last few years, and I don't see them being any worse this year. They were all freshmen and sophomores last year, so they're only sophomores and juniors now. And I know we have a move-in if we can ever get him to get his transfers paper that's supposed to be a pretty solid golfer, so I don't know where he would fit in. So I would think they're looking for some successful seasons based off of what they have coming back from last year. So,
will Connersville be hosting any IHSAA conferences this year, or track and field?
The only thing we host from the IHSA in the spring is we host both the boys and girls track sectional, and then we also host the boys track regionals, which will be right there in the middle of May, right before school is out.
Okay.
We don't host baseball or softball. Some of that's our venue. Don't maybe have enough seating, don't have lighting, you know, and golf is, we've been trying to get the boys golf here, but it's kind of hard to get everybody to come this far down when you can go to a nice place like the Players Club in Yorktown. And so it's been a little hard at times.
The track and field, how many teams come in? Seems like quite a few.
Yeah, I want to say there's about 12 that come to the sectional, and then of course you get the different regionals, the Warren Centrals and the Franklins come in, and Ron Colley's and all those, which is a great regional meet for the boys here. And our girls compete at the Shelbyville regional for track. So I think there's 12. I'm not going to get that exactly right. Just trying to think back to last year. 12 different schools
quite
that come
a few,
here
I
for
know.
our sectional.
I mean, yes, right. And they go on into well into the night.
Yeah, they start about 5:30 in the afternoon, and the last race is going to run about 9. So, and I enjoy it. I used to run track in high school, and I've coached it. And to me, it's just it's a great individual team sport. You know, you can be very good at your event and continue on, but you also are competing for a team, not necessarily as collectively, but each as individuals, trying to do your best in your own sport. So I enjoy that sport.
Staying in the academic field for a minute, I believe the graduation rates are increasing, aren't they, fellows at CHS? I believe they're up some from previous years.
Yeah, I can't tell you the exact number. I know Mr. West would be able to tell you more of that, but there's been a big change in the way I think our kids and people have approached, and the style of teaching and the things we do are a lot differently now that have allowed the kids to be a lot more successful. And I know as a staff they're always looking to do different things and try to continue to increase that. So hopefully that'll stay on the rise.
And participation in sport helps keep a youngster in school.
I think it keeps them in school, and it keeps them out of things that gets them in trouble. It's at 2 hours after school that you know where they're at. You know they're being supervised. You know they're being watched. You know they're doing the right things. And sometimes it's just the taking away from the normal crowd that they hang with and putting them with a different crowd can make a huge difference in their lives. So
I always want to compliment the parents too of the youngsters, because they sacrifice a lot during the season.
I'll let you guys. You want to take that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at how many freshmen, sophomores, and sometimes juniors that you have in your program that cannot drive.
Sure.
They got to find a way from the high school to the bowl to practice. Carrie and I, we alternate days of practice between who's early and who comes later. So they got to drop them off, and then they got to pick them back up again. And you know, we talk a lot about dedication from the players, but it is from the parents as well. You know, and it's a sacrifice that they do for their children. You know, and like we said earlier, you just hope that the kids have a positive experience, and the parents do as well if the kids do.
Some of those teams practice early in the morning, don't they? Like the swimming team, what time is it?
Well, we practice in the morning some, and when Michael was talking about the parents doing a great job getting those kids there, we alternate late and early. Sometimes we go at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's a real hardship, especially if you're not already on your way to work. If you're going to work, you know, it's easy just to drop your son or daughter off at 5:30 in the morning and get ready for 6 o'clock practice. But if you're not, it is a hardship. But our parents have done a great job, and you know, when we've had an opportunity or there was some need for help, then we've helped out and get those kids there, or one of the other players and their parents have.
Good.
So we've got an outstanding group of parents like Michael at this point in time as well.
I know it's early practice times for some of you guys, and I was just wondering how that works out. I mean, it's That's a real chore, I would think, too.
Well, I know our swimmers are happy when morning practice is over because they go in and they do a lot of dry land training and just working out without being in the water for a long time. And then they get that done before school, and then they're still back in the pool after school. And I know they celebrate when that morning workouts are over. But that's not till the season's almost done. So they, as they call tapering, backing off their training workout, getting ready for the sectional and the state meets. And it's a good time for them when they're not. You know they're tapering because the boys come to school with their hair dyed and cut and shaved. And the girls all have collar of some sort. This year I think it was pink. They all had pink in their hair. So you know they're getting close to the end of their season when they start doing all the crazy things to their hair. So.
Brent, I know you have some terrific help in your office. Who are your assistants?
Shane Russell's the assistant athletic director. Shane also is right now filling in in the principal's office for a couple weeks, and he teaches elementary school PE at Maplewood and Grandview. And Shane's done a great job. He's very conscientious about making sure things are right in order, and I'm sure he's like I was the first year, just a nervous nanny at times, and trying to make sure he didn't miss an I and didn't cross a T. And then, of course, Wendy Sargent is the new athletic secretary after working for Kenny Fall at the prosecutor's office for the last 10 years. And Wendy's done a great job. She's kind of modernized it, so to speak, you know, and Jeannie Flum did a super job. But, you know, Jeannie did it her way for 26 years, and her way's not going to be Wendy's way. So Wendy's way is a little more technology and a little more less paper being mailed and more things being emailed and scanned. You know, today's world, technology is great as long as it works, but as soon as it fails, we're kind of getting a pinch. But they have both done an outstanding job, and I see that continuing and just getting better. You know, we're all three learning. There's 4 years of experience between all of us, and I have them all. So it's been a good year for us, though.
What do you hear from your predecessor?
Well, nothing but smiles and laughs.
That's Pam Noble. She's
Pam's in Florida right now till April. She actually is going to get an award at the Indiana Athletic Directors Conference here in March. It's the Charles E. Moss Service Award for her time and dedication to the athletics over her 30-some years that she was involved in them. And one of the stipulations is that you're supposed to come back to the banquet in March and accept your award. And so I told her that she won, and she says, well, you can tell them I'm not coming back, so they might want to change their mind. So I told them that. So they called me back and says, no, you can come up and take it for her. So I said, I guess we can do that, because she says I'm not coming back from Florida till April. So, but she seems to be enjoying it.
Good.
And I think that's what, you know, you work for all your life to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah, she was on the IHSA board. Did you take her place on that board?
No, there are certain demographics that you got to have, and she was one of the female seats that have to be taken on the board. So they did replace her with another female. So
Michael, tell us about your assistants. I know you're proud of your JV team, your freshman team. Those people work very hard.
Absolutely, you know, it's a lot of time, and especially if they have a family, you know, you take a lot of things away from them. So Brittany Reuter's been our varsity assistant coach now for 4 years, and this will be her last year. She was recently married, and her husband has been in medical school, and so he's going to his residency now, and so they're going to be together now at this point in time. And so this will be her last year, and she's done a very good job with the girls and done a great job with the program. JV coach now for a couple years has been Daniel Hafner. He's a math teacher at the high school. He came here from Winchester originally, played a little bit there for Chip Mahaffey in Winchester, and then Rick Brown's been our freshman coach the last few years, and Rick does a good job with the freshman team. And you know, every year that on the girls' side of it, you wait to see how many is going to show up and try out, because you just don't know if there's going to be enough freshmen or not, how many you're going to have to pull up to the JV. So he's done a good job with the freshmen as well.
Terry, tell us about your assistants.
Well, I've been very fortunate to have the same high school coaching staff the 4 years that I've been here. Sean Adkins and J.D. Miller have been the varsity assistants.
Yes.
Done a tremendous job, wonderful job. Chris Bottomley's been our junior varsity basketball coach, a former Spartan, and someone that we wanted to find a way to get him on board. He was a middle school coach when I first got here, and it just worked out. And he does a great job, especially relating to the kids and telling us all those old Spartan stories, from the heydays. And he really bleeds that Connersville red and white. And Tim Howard, then another former Spartan, along with assistance from 2 other former Spartans, Matt Holbrook and Brandon Kramus, help him with the freshman team. So I just feel it's important to bring guys back that have played in the program. Those 4 guys give us those people that are former Connersville Spartans, and as well as caring about the kids. I think they're doing a great job from the basketball side of things as well. Yeah.
The middle school, those youngsters did pretty well, didn't they? 7th and 8th graders?
Yeah, we've got 2 7th grade, 2 8th grade teams of red and white. Chris Silcott, who played some basketball here. I don't think he finished playing, but Chris is one of our 8th grade coaches. John Reynolds, pastor in the community, is another one of our middle school coaches. And then the other 2 coaches at the middle school are former Spartans as well, and Cody Smith and Brian Munchell. A lot of people will remember those 2 guys.
Yes.
Played a little more recently than some of the other guys. But again, they've all had very good seasons at the middle school, and I think they're doing a good job of working with our kids, not only as basketball players, but also teaching them about the student and the academic side as well, and stressing those things to them as well.
Michael, what about the 7th and 8th graders for the girls?
They're still in their season right now. They start a little bit later. They start more in December, and what's bad for me is when the end of the season is probably the most busy time for me. You're really starting to prepare for your sectional opponents, trying to scout as much as you can, and I'm on the road a lot. So if we practice, I'm gone, or I'm watching film. So haven't had much of a chance to see them live, but we've had the same coaches there for a few years, and I think I know my 7th grade red team has been getting better from the beginning of the year to now, and the red team has some potential in 8th grade. I think they have some players there that might be able to help us down the road here in 2 to 3 years. So, looking forward to them coming up and just continuing to get better right now.
Brent, do you have any final words here tonight? We're about out of time. As athletic director of CHS, I know you are always happy when the fans show up for the sports events.
Sure, it's always great to have our local fans come in, and even visiting community peoples come over. As many people we can get to come and watch our athletes play, and be in the bowl or be in the wrestling room, or the high school watching the gymnastics team, which is preparing for their sectional the next weekend, the same weekend that Carrie's going to be hopefully in the sectional finals. And it's just outstanding. The kids work hard, and they love to play in front of people and the packed house. So
I was going to say, I think it really inspires the kids, doesn't it, Gary and Michael, to have a lot of fans in attendance?
They'll have a lot of memories. I think there's 2 things. You want to have memories, make memories when you're in school, and I think the fans being there is part of that. And you don't want to have any regrets. And I just think as a high school athlete, if you don't have any regrets and you've made a lot of memories, it's been a good experience.
Thank you guys very much for joining us this evening as the basketball season winding down and spring sports is just around the corner. Brent Duncan, Athletic Director at CHS. Michael Thompson, he's the Lady Spartans coach, and Kerry Brown is the boys coach at CHS. Thanks, fellas. It's always nice to have you on here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And that's our show tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. There will be a March edition of Connersville Speaks coming up in 4 weeks. We want to thank you for watching this evening, and good evening, everybody.